Hi everyone, I'm Simon and welcome to another one of my investigative videos. Today I want to talk about something I believe is in the public interest because transparency, accountability and safeguarding should apply to everyone, especially those in positions of public trust. The big question I'm asking today in this video is, did Sureena Brackenridge, the MP for Wolverhampton, fail to disclose conflicts of interest to the school she was a teacher at prior to becoming an MP? And did she go on to lie on DBS checks she undertook? And if she did lie, what does this say about the loopholes within our DBS system? This will also raise questions about her position as an MP, because if the answer is that yes, she has lied on DBS checks to keep her job as a teacher, does this make her position as an MP untenable? Before we start, if I could ask you to scroll down and click the like button. It's a tiny little button and it doesn't cost you anything. It's totally free. And while you're down there, please do consider hitting the subscribe and share buttons because they're also free. These little actions really do help the channel out and helps me continue doing my research to bring you more of these videos. Speaking of the video, let's get back to it. This is not about party politics. This video is all about safeguarding, integrity, and the failure of our institutions to protect children from those who should never be near them. We have to start with Sureena's husband, Greg Brackenridge, Labour councillor and former mayor of Wolverhampton from 2021. The name Greg Brackenridge might also be quite familiar to you because he's been in the news a lot the last 12 months, lying, claiming he was a former Royal Marine, when in fact, all he did was start the training, but never finish it. This news article from July 1989, where Greg's father talks about Greg being a member of the training establishment, not an actual Marine, and several other pieces of historical evidence have forced Greg to admit his lies. His wife Sureena, though, was quite happy to use Greg's lies about him being a former Royal Marine on all of her campaign leaflets. Did she know the truth when she campaigned on what is now proven to be wholly untrue, and just like Nick Adderley's lies, deeply, deeply offensive to genuine veterans? In 2007, though, Greg Brackenridge was convicted of assaulting a minor. That's no longer speculation. While there are no Google index search records that bring this up, I personally confirmed this by digging out the old microfilm copies of the Express and Star. Not an easy task, I can tell you, scrolling through literally hundreds of pages manually on film, winding the reader on to try and find where this buried article was. Finally, I found the paper in question, dated the 9th of February 2007, where this is reported. It states, Greg Brackenridge, aged 35, of Ribbersford Avenue, Oxley, Wolverhampton, given 2-year suspended sentence, 3-month curfew order, 200 costs, and ordered to pay £250 compensation for assault. Now, this Greg Brackenridge does match with a Greg Brackenridge on the electoral register at Ribbersford Avenue. I'm assuming the extra R is just a typo from the minimum wage trainee likely tasked to record all the court listings in 2006 and 7 with pen and paper, and they just misheard it. This Greg on the electoral register also lives with a Sureena Brackenridge, so we can be pretty sure this is the same person. Now, I have checked and there's another Greg Brackenridge living with another Sureena Brackenridge, also registered to vote at Powell Street at the same time. Now, both couples claim this to be their primary residence, but that's not a concern that elected MPs registered to vote in general elections at multiple different addresses, generating more polling cards. But let's park that for now. That's not what we're looking into here, but we may well come back to that in the future. Greg got a suspended sentence. There was compensation. He was under a curfew. This was therefore not a trivial fight. According to the victim's mother, who has provided a statement, he looked like he'd been in a car crash. Now, this is where it really gets interesting. A conviction like that against a minor is disclosable on an enhanced DBS check. And for anyone ever working with children, this never goes away. That's the whole reason why the vetting system exists. Yet somehow, this man has sat on council committees attended school-linked events, and went on to be mayor of Wolverhampton. He even sat on a committee in 2017 where he refused people's licences because they had their own previous assault convictions. There is no greater hypocrisy than the man claiming to be so pious and refusing other people also has the same skeletons in his closet. The Labour Party are very quick to jump on other parties, such as Reform, the party snapping at their heels, when they find something out about their candidates, claiming they do not vet them and try and discredit them, saying they let all sorts in. So the questions raised here are, did the local Labour Party, or the wider Labour Party, check anything at all and vet any of their candidates? Did they know about Greg and just choose to ignore it? Or was Greg vetted and he chose to not disclose this on any vetting checks and get away with it? There will be many loopholes in local council regulations that do not require prospective councillors to disclose anything older than 5 years old. So I imagine Greg will try to claim he didn't have a legal obligation to disclose this, but there is, however, a moral obligation if you're planning to be mayor of the city. And so that now brings us to his wife, Sureena Brackenridge, the now sitting MP for Wolverhampton North East. At the time of the assault in 2006, she wasn't just his wife, she was also a teacher. Not just at the same school, but a teacher of the boy her husband assaulted. According to the victim's family, she was present during the assault, stood by to do nothing to stop her husband as he battered one of her pupils. I need to be very clear here. She wasn't actively involved in the assault, nor was she charged. However, under safeguarding rules, she had a legal and moral obligation to declare what had happened. There is no bigger conflict of interest than being trusted as a teacher to safeguard and teach pupils in a school where your husband was convicted of assaulting the pupils you teach. Things are made even more complicated because between 2009 and 2018, a piece of legislation called the Childcare Disqualifications Regulations 2009 were in force. These made it very clear, if you live in a household with someone convicted of violence against children, you must declare it. And if you don't, you are legally disqualified from working with children. Now, she stayed on at the school. Not only that, she continued through her career and reached the role of deputy head. That was the role she was at before she left to head into politics. So here, right now, is the uncomfortable question. Did Sureena Brackenridge lie on DBS checks? And did she fail to disclose this to the school in any capacity, highlighting this was a conflict of interest and asking for directions over what she needs to do? Or was it the school? Did she in fact tell them and the school failed to act? Or did they know about the whole thing and they wanted it quietly brushed under the carpet? Her husband living with her, convicted of assault, and her continuing with her role as a teacher is completely incompatible with the Childcare Disqualification Regulations 2009. So these questions need to be answered. I've put in a Freedom of Information request to the most recent school, and I eagerly await the results back from that. Either way, she's now gone on from that school to Parliament, where she now sits on the Education Select Committee. Yeah, really, she now helps set the policy for the very children she arguably failed to protect. These are questions that need answering, and I'd suggest if you want answers, you raise this all via local MP to determine their views on this. I would just hope they are not a Labour Party MP, because I've raised these issues and others to my own local MP, Lucy Rigby, concerning, amongst other things, other vetting failures of Nick Adderley and misleading statements issued by Northants Police about seeing a developed vetting certificate that they now confirm never actually existed. I got silence from her for 6 months, and when she did finally speak to me in February 2025, I just got a fistful of empty promises. I raised concerns with Lucy Rigby directly, believing, as my MP, she'd at least ask questions. Instead, in an email last month, she made it clear I would not receive any further emails from her, inferring she plans to ignore everything I as a constituent raised to her. And true to her word, nothing else I've emailed her about, asking her even to clarify, has gotten the courtesy of a reply, so that I no longer know if I have an MP that I can approach anymore. Now, it's the fact that she plans to ignore her constituents, that's not the kicker, it's the reason. Despite her being a solicitor, her excuse is, it's too complicated. Let's just be real. She holds a cabinet position as Solicitor General overseeing the CPS. In her career as a solicitor, she was a former legal partner in a firm, and she's received the title of King's Counsel, the highest accolade you can achieve. A KC who claims fraud and safeguarding concerns are too complicated for her to grasp is either incompetent or, as I suspect is more likely, just protecting her own party. Either way, I have no faith she'll act on this latest concern about Sureena Brackenridge's misconduct, and in the same way she's trying to protect the Labour Police Fire and Crime Commissioner of Northants about the vetting failures there, she will do so here. And right now, silence is complicity. So here's what you can do about this. Raise this with your own MP. Send them this article. Ask them why someone with a conviction for assaulting a child was allowed to become mayor. Ask them why that person's wife, a teacher, now an MP, appears to have never declared that her husband attacked one of her pupils. And ask if the Labour Party will hold their own members to the same standard they hold other party members, like Reform to, and suspend her, forcing her to answer the questions about what she actually declared and to whom, and where the failings in vetting occurred. I want to be very clear about this yet again. This is not about left or right. This is about whether children are safe and whether those in power can lie, cover up, and move up the ladder without consequences. And if your MP is Lucy Rigby, maybe ask her if she plans to support whistleblowers or protect child abusers and their families instead.